All right, first question. So this is more of a like a perspective about you. So I ask questions about your career and stuff. So to start off, what's your favorite moment of your pro career so far?
Uh, Man, there has to be the UFC victory. You know what I mean? I spent so many years trying to get UFC, so many ups and downs, and to feel Cole Williams tap is just it's probably one of the greatest victories I've ever had.
Well, while we're on the subject of that particular fight, that was, if I remember right, that was Anderson Silva's presumably at the time the last card. We now know it was the last card. Was there anything different for you mentally knowing that was you were competing on the same card that a legend of the sport like that was going to go out on?
Man, not at the time. I didn't even think about it. I was really focused on the fight. I did get to meet Anderson. I got to meet him one time at the institute, and I walked by him and I tried to give him a fist pump, but he just kept walking by me. I was like, oh man. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He just comes back and like gives me a fist bump, shakes my hand, super nice. And at the weigh-ins, I got to see him, and he kind of just gave me a little nod. And I was like, all right, that's I can appreciate that. But no, man, the fight was the fight. It doesn't matter who's in the car. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, I mean, it could be in a parking lot if I'm out there to fight.
So you're fighting up next against Bryan Barberena, who in 2019 had a borderline fight of the year contender with Vicente Luque. What are your expectations for that fight? What's your game plan? What's your mindset going into this?
Yeah, man, it's he's durable. He's good. You know, Vicente Luque is not a joke. And so, game plan is just go in there and honestly, in my honest opinion, fuck him up. Like that's what it's coming down to, because that's what we're gonna do. I know it's gonna be like one of those fight at night contentions.
No doubt about it.
I mean, we both got power, we both swing hard, and we both stand there in the middle of the cage and just try to put each other away. And that's kind of what's gonna happen. But you know what I mean? Like if you look at that fight, Vicente Luque just kept his hands up the whole time. There wasn't a lot of movement. There wasn't a lot of wrestling. There wasn't a lot of kicks. There wasn't a lot of aspects that I bring to the game that I don't think Bryan Barberena is gonna be able to deal with like he did with Vicente Luque. You know what I mean? Vicente just boxed him the whole time.
So when you're going in there with Bryan Barberena, you're swinging for the fences. You get the job done. You get your hand raised. Do you have a name in mind for who's next?
Yeah, man. Barberena is not one of those guys you can look past. You know what I mean? Nobody in the UFC or the welterweight division especially is somebody you can look past. I got names, but that's on the back burner right now. My focus is Barberena, getting past him and getting my hand raised July 31st.
So at 170 pounds, do you mind me asking what your walk around weight is?
Yeah, usually walk around 185, 190. Depends on how I feel, how my body's feeling. Walking around right now like 186, 187, it's around there.
So how's the weight cut process? Do you find it particularly difficult, or does it depend on the fight, or what?
No, man, it's really not too difficult. The last one, the Simmelsberger fight was did not go my way. It was not a good weight cut by any means necessary, but not making excuses. But normally 170's pretty easy. You know what I mean? I made my UFC debut on 12 hours notice. Give me one sec. I got a new puppy. He's trying to get inside. He's being a little butthead.
All right. I've been there.
All right. My bad. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. That's
all part of the. Got to let the new puppies out.
That's all part of the fun. I've got to myself. So next question. You made your UFC debut, obviously, in the middle of 2020 with that whole mess. How'd you took the fight on short notice? Yeah. Was that just your manager calling you and saying, hey, this fight is up for grabs, and you taking the fight?
Man, I was at work. I was eating Chipotle at the time. I had a client. I own a personal training studio in Overland Park, Kansas. And he's like, hey, man, I don't care what you got going today. Drop everything. I had 6 clients after that. I had to cancel all 6 clients. It's like, drop everything. Get to the airport. Don't even pack a bag. Luckily, I live close enough to my gym that I could go home. I told my wife, like, hey, bring me a suitcase, throw whatever in the dryer, just throw it in the suitcase. Like I'm rushing the highway, rushing the airport. He's also like, hey man, you got to get blood work done. So mine just is 12:45, and I have to get I live about 45 minutes away from the airport. So I have to get from my house, Willis, dogs. I have to get from the airport my house to the airport, which is 45 minutes away, and get blood work done the plane leaves at 3:00. So I mean, it's pretty much 2 hours to get blood work, packed, and get to the airport. It was a hell of a stress thing.
So assuming a full camp and a full fight week and everything, what was a full fight week for you? Like say Monday through Friday leading up to a fight look like for you?
Yeah, it's pretty chill, man. I'm not one of those people who really puts a lot of investments in rituals or just how things need to be this way to be this. You know what I mean? It's just I'll wake up Monday, usually go to work. Usually work about 6:00. I'll go to training, get just a light sweat in, nothing crazy. I won't be sparring like that. I'll start the water cut for a weight cut. That'll be Sunday, and then Tuesday fly out, and then hang out at the in Vegas for a couple days, and then just start cutting weight on Thursday.
What's your favorite part about the facilities in the UFC and the PI and what you get to use being a part of the top organization there is?
Yeah, man. That place is awesome. You know what I mean? Like I went there, I fought for FFC before they went bankrupt or whatever the fuck happened to them. So I got the chance to go to the Performance Institute with James Krause, and that was kind of motivation just to get in the UFC, just to see the facility that they have is, man, they take care of you. They really do in every aspect. Everything's organized. Everybody's super nice. The cut weight in that hot tub and that ice bath was, you get done, you make weight, and you jump in the ice bath, and it feels fantastic. You're just sitting there not having to worry about sweating anymore. But the place is awesome.
How hot is that hot tub? I've always wondered that.
I want to say 104, somewhere around there. Not super crazy, but not enjoyable to be in regardless.
I'm fairly certain of that. I don't guess cutting weight's one of the more fun things about the sport any way you stack it.
The worst part.
What's your favorite part about training or sparring, and what do you enjoy about that in the lead up to a fight?
I've always loved competition. I'm just a competitor, and I love competing. I'm not a super fan of fighting. I don't like hurting people. I'm not a super aggressive person, but when it comes down to who's going to win that fight, that's the competition that I love doing. Man, my favorite part of training is just I've loved training for so long that it's just being in the room with the people you grind with every single day. And you kind of got to take pride in being in the room with, James Krause, Grant Dawson, Julian Marquez, Zach Cummings, people like that. I mean, it's just fun it's kind of like you're just hanging out with your friends, but, trying to beat each other up.
Yeah, that's probably a little different. Nice change of pace. I always say the fighters have to have a different mindset with what y'all do. So in the cage, you step up, you're in the cage. Obviously your primary objective is to beat somebody up. What's your mindset going into a fight? And does it change with each opponent?
No, man. The goal is always the same. The goal is to win. That's all I come there to do. That's all I'm fighting for. Just to win, no matter what way. The mindset changes a little bit. I'm not one of those people that I've only had it one time. That was the Cole Williams fight where I was super nervous in the back room and didn't really I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling loose. I wasn't feeling ready for the weird. And then when the music went on, something switched. And that never happens to me. I'm usually just ready to go, all right, let's get this shit going. Once the music started playing, the walkout happened, something switched. Once I got in that cage for the Cole Williams fight, I even said to my coach, I'm a fucking savage. And I felt that in that, that was my mindset walking in that cage and just knowing that no matter what happened that night, I was walking out with my hand raised.
Not bad, given that you tapped him out. So I know you haven't yet fought with fans in the UFC, but for your pro fighting career, what is your favorite fan interaction that you can recall?
That's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that question, actually. I think I've had a lot of them. I have a lot of great fans. I love hanging out with kids. My last FAC fight, FAC is a local show in Kansas City. And I went 3 rounds and just busted the dude up. I won. It was the fight before I got into the UFC. And Hooters was sponsoring the place, so we went every Hooters afterwards. And I didn't know everybody had gone there. It was a sponsorship thing, but a lot of my family members, a lot of people I didn't expect went there. And I showed up a little bit late. When I walked in, like the whole place stood up and clapped for me, and it was just super cool and really super. Like I was like, holy shit, I did not see that coming. And I really enjoyed that. I got to see my family members, got to see people that usually don't come to fights, came to fights. And there's a lot of kids in there that was just hanging out, and I got to just interact with them. And it's really fun just being appreciative and people like appreciating what you've done for so long, and then being able to interact with them and just talk to them about it.
So you bring up the call to the UFC after that fight. What was that whole process? I've talked to guys that have gotten on via the Contender Series or appeared on Tough or something else. What was your journey to the UFC like?
Rough. It was a long ass fucking road, man. There was so many years, so many times that I thought I should have been in the UFC, that people were like, hey man, get this guy in the UFC, he needs to be in the UFC. And I was only like 4-2 or 7-3 or whatever my record was. I can't remember exactly, but there were so many times that I thought I should have been in the UFC. And then I go on like a 5-win streak, I lose a fight. I go on like a 4 or 5 win streak and I lose a fight. And like, so it was just rough. Like I get to the point where I felt like I belong in there. Like I'm on the road to get where I need to be. And then I'd lose a fight and then I'd be back to square one again. And so it was rough, man. And luckily, not luckily, but fortunately for me that the virus happened and that I had the opportunity to make weight on such short notice. Lost that fight, but that's not the point. It opened doors for me. It was an opportunity to get in the UFC, and I just kind of went with roll with the punches on that one. So
were you expecting prior to that 12-hour call that you were going to be in the UFC for your next fight?
Yeah, after I won the last FAC fight, I really kind of I shot my shot and called out Sean Shelby and Dana White and told him like, Doug, man, this is what I'm doing. And I called. You can ask Jason House, my manager with Iridium. I called him probably 3 times a week. I texted him saying, hey man, I'll take a private jet. I don't give a fuck. Like I will do whatever you need to make these short notice fights. Like I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. So I really bugged the shit out of my management system to get in the UFC, to get where I needed to be. You know what I mean? And it paid off in the end. It really did.
That's it's a good thing to be doing when you have that sort of opportunity in play. Definitely need to bet on yourself in that situation and take advantage. So with that in mind, the short notice opportunities, assuming you could make the scale Friday morning, would you take it no matter what the notice is?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think, and you'll look at people's resumes or our gym's resume just in general. I took my UFC debut on, not even, 48 hours notice. Kevin Kroom took his UFC debut on 48 hours notice, knocked his guy out in 30 seconds and made 50G bonus.
Nice.
Our coach, James Krause, really preaches, hey man, stay ready for this fight. Like come in here grinding. We have opportunities, things are coming. And he took a fight on not even 24 hours notice. I think he made weight an hour before the weigh-ins against Trevin Giles. Lost that fight in a bullshit decision because, there's some bullshit. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But we have a reputation for taking short notice fights and being ready. And we work our ass off, man. We're grinding the gym every day. And so I think taking those short notice opportunities really shows the UFC that we're a different breed of people and we're prepared all the time.
Being dependable is something they'll definitely want to call you. So when you're in that zone and you're taking those fights, is that something that you're about, all the time? Is that a constant mindset even when you're not in the gym or you're not, getting ready for a fight?
Yeah. I mean, it really is. We're kind of, I think the line is, I got time today. You know what I mean? Like there's sometimes you're not ready, but I think I'm always in the gym. Everybody that's usually in there is always in the gym, unless somebody tells you not to be. That like Julian Marquez fought twice in a month and busted his ass, won 2 bonuses, and Krause like, hey man, stay out of the gym. You got a month. Like that's a certain circumstance. But Krause always says you get the weekend. Laugh, cry, do whatever you need to do, get your shit together, be back to work on Monday. And that's the mentality we have. We have that blue collar, we're working our ass off type mentality.
So to kind of stay in tune with that, if they called you and said, say, hey, fight at middleweight, would you do it?
Sure. Fuck them. They can all get it.
What do you think about your skills from your own perspective when you go in the octagon? What do you think is making you dangerous to your opponent at the given time?
Man, I'm good everywhere. Like I'm a veteran in this game. I've been in this shit for a long time. I have good striking. I have great wrestling. I have good jiu-jitsu, and I'm very athletic. So I have the ability to kind of blend all those together. I think that's where the sport's going these days. Is you don't have specialists anymore. You don't have the good jiu-jitsu guys. You don't have the good just striker. You don't have just a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like you have to learn to blend those. And you have some special cases. Khabib's one of them, but he still blends his striking into his wrestling. So I mean, the game is just evolving, and I think I'm one of those people that I've kind of been ahead of the curve a little bit on blending. Like I'm able to switch stances. I'm able to mix my striking. I'm able to mix all that together, and that's paid off a lot for me. And I think that's something I bring to the table that a lot of people can't do.
So what do you, from that standpoint, you talk about the multifaceted style being an asset. What is your favorite style to fight?
I don't think I have a style. I don't know. I like grinding people out. I like fucking just holding on to people and just kind of taking their soul away. That's my goal, man. There's not a style to it. If I get a hold of you, if I can hit you hard, if I can just wear you down and kind of just break your soul and feel that, like you can feel people just give up, like I'm out, like just leave me the fuck alone. And I think that's my style. I like it until you quit.
So with that Cole Williams fight, you kind of had that be your final result. What was that part of the game plan going in? Was we rolling that through your mind?
Yeah, so we knew he had missed weight. We knew the game plan coming to that fight was we're gonna shoot early. We're just gonna mix it up, make him kind of worry about the takedown because he was a division whatever wrestler, and he didn't feel like it. But we knew he had missed weight. We knew he didn't have we heard through the grapevine that he didn't have a good camp, he didn't have good training partners to train with. And so we got out of weigh-ins across, like, look, we're changing the game plan. I'm like, well, we were going to shoot early. What's the game plan? He's like, I want you to shoot the first 30 seconds. I was like, all right. So the game plan was just grind him down. Like even round one, if I didn't finish him round one, that's great. Just bust him up, wear him out. Round two isn't everything coming out. And that worked out perfectly. I mean, if you watch the fight, took him down immediately, just grinded him out, held him there for all 5 minutes, busted him up, gave him an Xbox logo on his forehead, and then put the rest in.
Is there anything specific you expect to see from your opponents each time you step in there?
I mean, you got different guys every time. Barberena is just a durable. He's a good boxer, man. He gets a good chin. He's hard to beat, but I know I can beat him. I know what the skill set that I've been putting in the gym and the work that I've been putting in is different than anything I've done before. And I know that's cliche to say, blah, blah, blah. Like people are like, oh, I've changed 100%. I'm a different fighter. Like I'm not a different fighter. I'm just critiquing the details that I need to work on to win fights.
So when this process for this fight, you would say you're feeling good about it. How's your camp been? How's the training been? How's the process been like for this fight coming up?
It's rough. My body's beat up. I'm 2 weeks out. Yeah, 15 days out, something like that. And you get to this point, you're beat up. Your body's beat up. You don't want to be in training. Last couple of weeks, man, I've turned a corner where before those 2 weeks, I was tired. I was just training was hard. I wasn't feeling good. And I turned a corner. I don't know what happened, but man, my mentality changed. I'm feeling good in the gym. I want to be in the gym. I'm putting everything together the way I need to. And that's really what I need to do to win this fight and have a good mentality into it.
How do you feel about the weight? Is everything okay with that?
Yeah. Wait, 70 is not hard to make. The last one was, but that was a fluke. But yeah, 70 for me is not a hard weight. I'm not a big guy. I'm a muscular 170, but I'm not like 6'2" trying to make 170. I'm 5'10". I'm a little bit shorter for the division, but what I lack in height and stuff like that, I make for athleticism and power.
Could you ever make the lightweight weight?
So a couple months ago, I went to the UFC Institute to run some tests to see if we could go to lightweight. I've made it before. I've fought there a couple times, amateur and once pro, and I fought at 158, 160, 161. So I fought those pretty close to it. it's just not good for my body, man. It's just too hard, and especially I'm getting a little bit older, and it's not going to work out well. Trying to cut that much weight is just rough. It's not going to work. So I'd like to, because I know it'd be good for my career, but at the same time, it'd be detrimental to fighting. So it doesn't really work out too well.
So do you have anything in mind for how many times you're hoping to fight this year after July 31st? Or does that depend, win, lose, or draw?
What is it, August? I'd like to at least 2 more. I mean, 2 more would be great. You know what I mean? Get 2 more 12-week camps in. I really like the camps. I really, I like a little bit of time off and then go put hard work in and then be able to get a full camp instead of, 24-hour, 48-hour notice is not is necessary. I'd like to fight 2 more times. You know what I mean? I'm in this sport to make some money, and I'm not making a lot of money right now, but I'm making more than I ever have fighting. So I'm enjoying it, and I'm just going to keep trying to climb those rankings, do what I can.
3-fight win streak to close out a year. Never heard anybody's standing in the organization. If you fought 3 times, say you win against Barberena and you fight twice more and you win, at that point, would you lobby? Would you lobby for a top 15 opponent at that point?
3-fight win streak, absolutely, 100%. I mean, like I said, I'm getting old. I don't want to do this shit forever. But yeah, I'd love to fight a top 15. I think that'd be great.
So you're fully expecting, same as me, being totally honest with you, that this one in 2 weeks is a potential where they may need to have the fight of the night checks on standby. You're expecting a war. Are you just thinking that's going to be, both of you swinging for the fences at each other until whatever happens? Is that?
I think this is one of those fights the first round is going to be, it's going to be a rough first round, but I think my wrestling will control most of the pace in that. And then round 2, I think he's going to put a lot more pressure on me. And round 2 might be a little bit rougher. And I think that third round, if it goes to the third round, it's going to be that fucking all-out war where you're just waiting for the last 10 seconds of just people that you hear that bell and you're like, well, everybody's swinging for the fences now. So, I mean, I think it'll be that barn burner of a fight.
I'm expecting the same exact thing. I saw this. I read up on the announced bouts for each card, and I saw that one. I'm like, they're gonna try to kill each other in there. So I'm thinking with this fight coming up, your opponent, what is your process like for watching film on an upcoming opponent to get ready for a fight? How much of that do you do?
Yeah, I do quite a bit. I have people who are better at it than I am. James Krause and Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson, if you guys don't know, is a study madman. Like, he's a mastermind in breaking down fights and breaking down technique. So I've had him look into the Barberena fight. I've had James Krause look into the Barberena fight. I got Jason High looking into it. And I'll watch film every now and then and just kind of pick apart a little bit things that I see. And then I'll watch, honestly, I don't usually normally watch fights fight footage like the week of, but with the Cole Williams fight, I watched it the day of. I just felt good about that. You know what I mean? So it really depends on my mood. Like, if I want to watch fights, I want to feel good about it. It depends on how I feel.
With that, think about what you do with the training and all that. Isn't Grant Dawson's a lightweight. I know who he is. Didn't he call out Paul Felder for not following him back on social media or something the last time he went out there?
Yep. Yeah.
I thought that's who that was. I thought that was right when I first started getting into this, when that happened. So I watched that fight. I thought that was a little bit humorous. To switch gears, you fought in the Apex for your UFC fight so far, and that's where the Barberena one's going to be, right? And so the 25-foot Octagon, everybody talks about, the 30-foot versus the 25-foot. Does that affect you in your training? Do you make any adjustments towards competing in the smaller space?
I mean, I've only fought I fought in local shows before the UFC, so small cage is what I've been in most of the time. I think the last FAC was a bigger cage. It was a 30-foot cage. But I mean, I've only fought in the UFC 3 times, and I've only fought in the Apex cage, so I really can't say it's just helped me or make it a disadvantage. But for me, I think it makes it an advantage. You know what I mean? Like if I have a wrestling base or a wrestling style, it's going to be easier to get to. They can't run. They can't, get away from me as easy.
So in a similar note with that, the Apex, I've heard people talk about how you can hear the coaching and hear, you know, the broadcasting and things like that. How do you think that has an effect on you, or what the mentality is?
Absolutely, man. I have most people are like, oh, James Krause should be the coach of the year. Like, no. He's the coach of the year. He's the best coach. Let's not get this twisted. So yeah, it's great to hear him. Like in the Cole Williams fight, I took him to the corner, and like I said, I put an Xbox logo on his forehead, and Krause like, oh, you got cut on his forehead. I'm like, yep, I can see that. Like, you can have a conversation with your coach, and that definitely helps out. You know, I mean, it makes the technique a little bit easier to pick up and understand and hear, and two, it makes it kind of like you're at home, like you're at the gym, like, hey, do this. Like, all right, cool, thanks. So it's like playing a video game. It just makes it easier.
Do you enjoy, this may sound like the way I'm presenting this question, but is there anything you enjoy about the lack of a huge crowd, or what's your feeling about the no crowd? Would you rather get to the hype crowd at the big arenas?
I think I would. I think it'd be nice to experience it. I really think it'd be fun. You know, I fought in front of like 5,000 people before, and that crowd definitely amps you up. It's definitely fun to hear the people scream. You know, you pick somebody up, slam them. The crowd's yelling. It just kind of amps you up. But like I said, I'm there to fight. I'm not there for the crowd. I'm not there for the noise. I'm there to beat that guy and entertain the fans, whether they're there on TV.
I think what sucks is this fight you've got in 2 weeks is one of those that you'd want a crowd for with that matchup. So I know you haven't had the crowd in the UFC yet. Which of your fights though with the crowd has had the best atmosphere, do you think?
So before I got in the UFC, I traveled to a lot of places. I went to, one of my favorite fights was I went to Canada, and I fought a guy named Ryan Dixon on 3 weeks notice. I was 5-2 at the time, and he was 11-3. Like, he was supposed to make his way to the UFC. It was my first trip with Krause, just me and him. And I knocked him out in a minute, and I was super nervous. Knocked him out in a minute. The whole crowd was there pretty much for him. And one of my favorite lines from Krause is he's like, oh, and the crowd goes silent. Like it's the opposite, you know what I mean? Like you're probably expecting, oh, he knocked somebody out and the whole crowd went crazy. Like, no, I knocked this dude out, and nobody said a fucking word. Like, I walked out and people congratulated me, but they're like, nobody was cheering. That's for damn sure. It was just me and Krause yelling.
So were they all rooting for the other guy or something?
Yeah. I mean, it was his hometown. Like, he was supposed to, if he wins that fight, he goes to the UFC.
Well, he probably sold the tickets then.
So the pretty much, I think there was like 5,000 people there that were all there for him, or 90% of them were there for him. And I slept him in a minute. Like, that doesn't sit well with the crowd.
So you enjoyed that, I take it, the role of spoiler in that context?
I love going to somebody's home crowd and just sleeping their hometown boy.
Yeah, I was on a call with Sam Alvey earlier in the week, and he talked about that, where he went to Brazil and knocked out somebody from there, and that being a good experience for him.
Yeah.
So with this fight coming up in 2 weeks, is there a specific date after the fact that you want to get back in there?
Not really, man. I'm just taking one fight at a time right now. That's all I can do. I'm not one of those people that looks forward in the future and just says, hey, if I do this, this, and this, because life doesn't work out that way. I can control what I can do. I can control what I can today, and tomorrow's a different day.
So I'll switch gears a little bit. What fighters have you looked up to?
GSP is my idol, man. He's been my favorite fighter. Just we have not similar styles, but similar athleticisms. So I really kind of modeled my strength conditioning after his, the study of what he did. You know, he didn't wrestle in high school. I didn't wrestle in high school, but he blends the wrestling with striking really well, and that's kind of what I like to do. I think it might sound bad now, but I looked up to Conor McGregor a lot just because his movement and the way he talked about things and his mindset. One of the things that he always said was, you know, like, rituals are just another aspect of fear, which I always thought was really cool. You know what I mean? Because people are like, oh, I got to wear my lucky underwear, and it just doesn't work out that way. So
like him or not, the sport is better with him in it. There's no two ways about it. What he's done, what he's brought to the sport. Man, that was crazy last weekend too. Got a lot of people talking. Yeah, that was insane. I didn't even see it at first. So do you think GSP is the best to ever do it?
I mean, that's hard to say. I think Khabib's the best to do it. My honest opinion. GSP's lost. Khabib hasn't. That's GSP wasn't fighting the same people that Khabib was fighting. Dustin Poirier is fighting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Dustin Poirier is the greatest either, but I think he's probably one of the best welterweights that there is for sure. But I don't think the quality was as good. Matt Hughes wasn't as good as people thought he was back in the day. You know what I mean? The sport hadn't evolved as much as it did at the time he was fighting. I think he's one of the best to do it ever. Absolutely. But I think, if I got to name a GOAT, it's Khabib. Like, you never lost a fight, never lost a round. How do you argue with that?
That's true. That, and one of the judges gave you the first round against him though.
Did they see the second round? Okay, yeah. So those are judges. I mean, that's fine. Okay, so he lost one round in 30 fights, 29 fights.
I didn't understand it at the time, but I went back and watched it, and it Gaethje didn't win the round. But the next question,
just by strikes, pretty much, because he had more significant strikes.
I would presume that'd be it. I think the fact that Gaethje could hit Khabib with his shots and Khabib didn't even look in trouble was amazing in and of itself. That's one of the hardest hitting at that, if not the hardest hitting at that weight that there is.
Sure.
Who would you say has had an impact on you throughout your career, some of the most impact on you as you've gone through fighting?
James Krause, man. Honestly, dude, just he's very motivational, and he's one of those guys that leads by example. And for me, that's huge. I respect people who do what they say they're going to do. That's one of the biggest things for me is if you say you're going to do it, you do it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like telling people, hey, be ready. You might have to take a 48-hour notice fight, and then he takes a 24-hour notice fight. Like that. That earns my respect, and that's something that's just played a huge. And he's in there every single day grinding with all of us. So that's one of the things that's played big in my mind.
I'd imagine that's huge for the motivation. You and your guys can look over and see him, doing the same stuff. Mm-hmm. So with such a big level of involvement, obviously, I would venture to guess you'd say that's made you a better fighter. And in what other ways does it get you ready?
There's a couple of times, like I said, I'd win a fight, or I'd win 5 fights and lose a fight, and I've never lost a fight that the guy was better than me, and I truly believe that to this day. I've never lost a fight that the person was better than I am. I've always beat myself before the fight started. If that makes any sense at all. And Krause really helped me kind of along with that, like think of like he gave me a lot of books and positive thinking and things to look at my mindset different going into fights. And that's something that's really not even just fights, but in business, in life, in marriage and things like that. He's just kind of showed me different ways to really just look at life a little bit different. And that's paid dividends in my life.
That's some good stuff, man. So that does about round out what I had for you. Anything else you think your fans might be compelled to know about you, or anything you want to add?
Nah, man. You asked that's 30 minutes of great questions. Honestly, you asked a lot of great questions. Some questions
I appreciate it. I really appreciate you doing this. Good luck in 2 weeks. I'll be watching. I definitely expect you to pull it out and cash that fight of the night check.
Man.
Do the fans proud. I appreciate it again. Thank you.
Of course, brother. Having me on, man. Take it easy.
You too.